What is up, everybody? The fall 2022 anime season is coming to a close, except for a couple shows that are seeing massive delays. But even still, I'm here to give you my top 5 picks for the best of the fall 2022 anime season. And I have to say, this season was especially difficult because we had so many really fantastic titles that were all each individually doing something really incredible, so it's very difficult to kind of pin them against each other. But as per usual with my top 5 lists, I definitely welcome you guys to go down in the comments down below and let me know what your favorite picks are. These top lists are not about me saying that my anime are better than your anime. It's really just us to come together and show different titles that we may have missed and we should check out. As per usual, I have a stipulation. I do not include any shows that are long running, like Bleach, which has been going for hundreds of episodes. But with that said, let's jump into my top 5 picks of the fall 2022 anime season. Kicking things off with my number 5, I have Chainsaw Man. Yes, I'm sorry for all the big fans out there. Don't hit the dislike button. I'm actually surprised how much I loved Chainsaw Man, to be honest. It's a series that I thought was just going to be an overhyped shonen show. Oh yes, MAPPA's working on it, so crazy animation. The PVs have been tempting us for years on end. And so when I came into it, I had a little bit of hesitation. I wanted to set my expectations low, but in the end, I was actually really surprised how much I love this series. The characters, while yes, dingy early on is kind of frustrating, really do capture me really quickly with their chemistry. It's a band of doofuses that all come together to fight really incredibly powerful stuff. For those that have been living under a rock and don't know what Chainsaw Man's about, it's essentially a world that has devils present in it. And you have certain groups that come together that actually hunt down these devils. And Denji's this kind of loner that ends up getting pulled into this government organization that takes down the devils. And why the government organization wants him is because at some point, his heart was replaced by the Chainsaw Devil. So he ends up being a very incredible tool to fight against these devils. Even though, yes, most people in society would want to get rid of him because he's technically part devil. And he's not the only one that's in this category, as you have other people like fiends like Power and other people that contract with devils in order to fight the devils that are sort of put into this group. It's the group of misfits, basically. And yes, because of that, their shenanigans are outrageous. There's a lot of fun and comedy in the chemistry of the characters and how, yes, some of them are extremely selfish, some are just kind of weird socially, but it all comes down to, can they have results? And yes, most of the time, they have results. But I think the thing that really did grab me the most about this series is Makima. Makima was absolutely incredible, and I just really am intrigued by her character. Yes, throw in there some crazy MAPPA animation, crazy music, great animation cuts, some additions they added to it to make it a little bit more improved from the manga. This is sort of one of those cases where you have an anime that kind of transcends the manga, and it makes you not want to check out the source material because you want them to adapt more. Moving on to everything that goes above Chainsaw Man for Andrew that everybody's gonna be upset about. My number 4 I have is Arknights Prelude to Dawn. This series blew me away. I was really not expecting anything from this. I was expecting mobile game adaptation. It's going to have some terrible story that just gets you to go buy the gacha characters. That's not the case. Prelude to Dawn was a huge shock for me because I just really feel like Yostar Pictures, who worked on this series, really had a passion for this project. And not only that, even though it is based off a mobile game, the writing is absolutely fantastic. The world building, the characters, everything really made me feel immersed into this world. It's this world where they discover this Arignium, which is this resource that powers things. But with that resource came an infection called Oropathy. And Oropathy basically makes the human body turn to crystal before that crystal shatters and spreads the infection throughout the air. And the government instills this fear upon the people to the point where if you're infected, you're pretty much an outcast by society. And with that comes terrorist groups that want to fight back against the government because they're being mistreated, and they're called the Reunion. Well, to offset this, to balance this a little bit, there's this other group called Rhodes Island, which is a group that has people that are infected as well, but they're trying to change the governments to treat the infected better. And yes, they have to fight against the Reunion at the same time because the Reunion are doing terrible things. As I said earlier, the world building is fantastic. I'm already into it. I want to know more. And additionally, what they're doing with the characters has me intrigued as well. Amiya, who leads the Rhodes Island group, is all about not harming other people. Don't take lives, which seems like a very impossible situation to do when everybody's trying to take each other out. And I get into a really nice climactic moment in this first 8 episodes that I thought really nailed the atmosphere and the character struggles. Adding on to the fact, like I said earlier, Yostar Pictures, the directing was really fantastic. While it's not overly animated, this isn't MAPPA stuff here, the directing really did carry it. The visual shots, the perspectives, the angles they took whenever people are talking or things are happening, I thought really set the mood and again immersed me into the world. And yes, I will admit, a big draw is the animal girls, poofy jackets, and guns. Like I said earlier, it shocked me. I wasn't expecting how much I'd love this series. I loved covering it on a weekly basis. The fandom itself was fantastic to talk to, and I just really can't wait for more. I'm so happy they announced more because honestly, 8 episodes was not enough. I need more. But it was a good stopping point. Let me be perfectly honest. If they went a full 12 episodes, it would probably get into a new storyline and then it would just cut off. Or they could have dragged out the story more than it should have been. I always appreciate whenever a production committee commits to just having enough time to cover the story. Don't drag it out and don't cut it off. Moving on to my number 3. I'm finally going to do this. I can't let this to get delayed anymore, even if the studio wants to keep delaying this. Uncle from Another World is an absolutely fantastic series that I cannot get enough of. Sadly, yes, the last episode has been delayed till whenever, but I think just based on the 12 episodes that I've seen of the series, I already know this series is going to go down as one of my favorite comedies of all time. Yes, this is an isekai, but please just hear me out. Uncle from Another World is a case where somebody is transported to another world, a fantasy world, but then at some point, they wake back up in the previous world. And they have all the stories and all the magic and all the stuff that they've learned in the other world. And while he's sort of getting caught up in the previous world with the advancement in technology, he's an absolute Sega nerd, so he's quite shocked that yes, Sega's no longer in the running. Over time, he's sort of telling the stories about his experiences in that other world using this kind of memory projection. And the stories are absolutely hilarious because he was treated terribly in the world. He was seen as an orc. He was an ugly human. And the shenanigans that he gets into in the other world, yes, he's pretty much overpowered, but the different girls that he meets, I love Elf. Elf is absolutely beautiful. She's a beautiful character. Despite my issues around the studio and how much they're struggling with getting this series done, I have to admit they nailed the manga's art. These characters look absolutely gorgeous. The comedy is so on point. This is one of those series that, honestly, I rarely get. A comedy that really has me from the gut laughing. And for me, that's an ultimate statement. Every episode, I could not help but laughing multiple times. Yes, part of that is because I do have a little bit of nostalgia with old classic gaming and Sega and all that kind of stuff, but I don't think it relies too heavily on that. Yes, 1 to 3 times each episode, you'll get Sega jokes or classic gaming jokes, but for the most part, the joke is the shenanigans around this other world. Because yes, he doesn't have game stuff in there. Uncle is a dork. I love Takafumi and Fujimiya's relationship that's kind of slowly building. Elf is absolutely adorable. Mabel is fantastic. Alicia is fantastic. These characters, I love them to death, and I'm really going to miss them once the series ever finishes. Enough that, yes, I'll probably jump into the manga because I cannot get enough of this series. Moving on to my number 2, I have Bocchi the Rock. Yes, Bocchi the Rock is absolutely fantastic. I think this season was just full of really fantastic slice of life titles, and Bocchi the Rock was one of the ones up the top there. Bocchi the Rock follows Hitori Goto, who is an introvert. She has a lot of struggles with speaking out to other people, meeting people. She's like early on, it kind of mentioned the fact that she's always afraid of saying the wrong thing. And at some point, she ends up watching this interview with a rock star. And this rock star says that he used to be an introvert, and the way that he got out of it was that he learned guitar and he got into a band and everything. And so Hitori thinks, I should do that too. So she grabs her father's guitar and starts training and setting her plans to play at the festival at her school. Unfortunately, 3 years pass and she never does anything with it. She learns how to play really well. Eventually, at some point, she ends up kind of getting roped into this one band that plays at these little nightclubs. And through this, Hitori ends up meeting other people and slowly trying to climb out of her shell that she's kind of got herself stuck in. And what makes this story so fantastic is the presentation and what Hitori is going through. Again, as an introvert, she struggles with getting out there. And it's not as if there's a cure for anything. She has these moments where she succeeds, but then she quickly falls back. It's never a cure-all. The way they've portrayed her struggle and her ongoing progression, although slow, feels relatable. You kind of feel that sense and you want to sit there and root for her. And yes, Cloverworks' work on this series was absolutely brilliant. The amount of care, detail, and animation they gave to all the characters was fantastic. But what was interesting was at the core of it, Hitori was constantly portrayed in almost an artistic way. It seemed like every episode they were doing some new interesting way of really portraying how she's just shocked by things. And it was always done in a way that wasn't artistic for the sake of being artistic. It was always a way of portraying exactly the mood that she's in. It was truly brilliant, and it didn't even end there. When it come to their performances they actually had, it almost seemed as if the studio themselves actually had real guitarists and stuff play the music, because you can always get a sense of there's something being off about the music whenever, yes, technically in the story, it was off. Whether it be the music itself is off rhythm, or you can see that they're progressing in a way. Add in that yes, the writing of the characters is fantastic. Aside from Tori herself, I love Nijika. I love the desire that she had in order to make her sister's club a success. Ryu and her selfishness, and yes, Kita. I loved Kita to death. She was absolutely beautifully portrayed. Somebody who seems outgoing and bubbly, but then eventually you'll realize there's something behind her that is really, truly a nugget. I cannot express enough. Go watch Bocchi the Rock, and then go watch Hattori Bocchi. And now you're asking yourself, what could possibly be better than Chainsaw Man? What could be better than Bocchi the Rock? Yes, my number one is Do It Yourself. No, don't turn off the video. Please keep watching. Do It Yourself is slice of life perfection. It's character writing perfection. Similar to Bocchi the Rock, it's visual perfection. And unlike the failures of a lot of other slice of life, there's no melodrama. Do It Yourself is quite simply a beautiful portrayal of a lot of characters that come together for some central point, and it's done in the most heartwarming and beautifully portrayed way. It takes place in a not so distant future of Japan, where you have AIs advanced. A lot of people kind of rely on just purchasing things, these drones delivering things. 3D printing is huge. You even have people in schools creating usable arteries with 3D printers. And we follow Yua Serafu, who goes to this new school. Unfortunately, not the school that her childhood friend is going to, which is this more advanced school that's nearby. And through Yua Serafu and her joining this do-it-yourself club at her school, you essentially have this conflict between essentially the old and the new. Why would you craft your own shelf when you can just buy it? Why would you make this thing when you could just 3D print it? Yes, at face value, when I first looked at this show, I just assumed it was going to be cute girls doing cute things, enter do-it-yourself. But what I got was so much more. It wasn't a cute girls doing cute things. Yes, they're cute. Yes, they're doing a thing, but that wasn't the heart of it. What the heart of it was absolutely brilliant writing. Because I make these assumptions coming into it like, oh, well, Pudding, who is her childhood friend, is upset that she's going to this other school. Pudding doesn't like the idea of do-it-yourself. She's the future thinking. Eventually, they're going to rope her in and she's going to join them with the club and she's going to suddenly realize, yes, do-it-yourself is fun. I was wrong all along. No, it's not the case. This writer doesn't really give anything too easily. You sort of have this slow progression of these relationships around the do-it-yourself club, and as different characters are being pulled into it, they become almost the bridge to other characters. One of those core characters was Jobko, which I think was a beautifully portrayed character. Jobko is essentially the daughter of a CEO of this big corporation that gets into high-tech AI and stuff. And yet she was somehow roped in the do-it-yourself club. I won't get into the details of it, but again, you can see that obviously this would be somebody that would be the core reason why you could technically bridge the two. I loved every single one of these characters, Jobko the most. And I have to give Pine Jam an incredible amount of praise because this is one of those few originals that I just absolutely adored and I cannot suggest enough. If you like slice of life characters, or yes, even if you like cute girls doing cute things, I highly suggest checking out this series. And that's it. That's my top 5 anime of the fall 2022 anime season. Tons of honorable mentions, so let's get into them. Romantic Killer. I thought this series was going to be a throwaway, and I was pleasantly surprised. It is an absolutely fun show. The main girl is an absolute goofball, and I love her to death. It's sort of going for the whole Otome game thing, but it breaks it. Like, at some point later on in the series, it got really, really heavy, and I really appreciated it a lot. Reincarnate as a Sword was an absolute treasure. Fran must be loved and protected. She was just Dotaru of the season, and probably the year. Yes, fighting with Anya. Gundam the Witch from Mercury, I've been really enjoying it. It has been a really interesting, different take on the Gundam franchise, and I'm interested to see where it goes. But unfortunately, yes, the last episode has been delayed, but not only that, but it's still, like, way ongoing, so we're not really getting to the meat of the series yet. Raven in the Inner Palace was an absolute treat. A period piece mystery supernatural series that, honestly, if you're complaining there's too many isekai shows out there, go watch it. The Raven Consort is just adorable. I love her. Bibliophile Princess was an absolute treat as well. A really fantastic romance series that I just could not get enough of. I felt like towards the later part, it sort of fell off a little bit for me, but I still really appreciated it. Immoral Guild. Gosh, I love that series. It almost ended up in my top 5 list. It almost knocked off Chainsaw Man for me. A fantastic, ecchi comedy series that was just laugh out loud the entire series. I likened it to something like Interspecies Reviewers. Please go watch it if you don't mind ecchi. If you don't like ecchi, stay away from it because there's a lot. It gets borderline. Love of Alternatives, second part, second season, whatever you want to call it. I still really enjoy this series. I'm looking forward to hopefully us getting another season of it because it's not done, and that's the struggle that I'm having with it. But no, this season was really great. There was some lulling points in there, but for the most part, oh my gosh, the beginning of it just broke me. I don't want to remember that. And yes, I do want to mention Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War. Again, it wasn't allowed in my list because it's been ongoing for so long, but I'm still really, really enjoying it. I haven't been doing any content on it just because people can't keep their mouths shut about spoilers. But anyhow, that's my top favorite anime of the fall 2022 anime season. Again, definitely go down in the comments down below. Let me know what's your favorite of the season as well. Or just tell me how much I'm wrong, which people don't need to be told that. They're going to do it anyways. But anyhow, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list. If it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you like my content and you want to support the channel more, we have a Patreon link, a tips link, and a super thanks button down below. We also have a membership button where you can join. I definitely appreciate the support, and y'all take care.